So O'Malley did an interview, I believe, yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the Jan fight. And he was like, he basically said, he's like, I was shocked that he took that fight.
Yeah.
Because it's such a huge risk for him. And he's like, and for me, it's like, this is how superstars are made. He's like,
right.
Like if imagine when I, when I face plant Jan. And I thought about that and I was like, dude, if he actually face planted Jan, the buildup for his title shot will be like huge. A Conor buildup.
Right. It's going to propel him for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Huge risks.
It's risk reward.
Yeah.
Like for Jan, it's all risk. How much of a reward it is, like, not really, because you're supposed to beat that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then for O'Malley, yeah, it's all reward. I mean, there's not really, the risk is, you lose, but well, shit, man, go back to the drawing board. 2 or 3 more, people are going to forget about that. You'll get your next top 5 guy after 2 or 3 more. The UFC PR machine is so powerful. They'll know how to build you, right back up to get that shot again. So, and I like that fight for O'Malley. Like, he's got the physical intangibles. I think he needs to put on a little bit of weight, to be competing with the guys at the top of the division. But skill wise, he's still getting better. He's still growing. And, if Peter Yan's essentially a kickboxer, and if you're going to if he's just going to, stay in the center of the octagon and play that game with O'Malley, that's the one place O'Malley wants to put you. I think Peter has to make that fight ugly, has to threaten a takedown here and there and put him up against the cage and take his legs out. So if Peter Yan beats himself in that fight, if he loses.
Yeah.
So, but that plays well into what Sean O'Malley's trying to do. And I'm a big Sean O'Malley fan.
Me too.
I'm a huge Sean O'Malley fan.
Me too, dude.
Like anybody that can, put meat in the seats and push the needle, you're there to watch. Like,
dude.
It's entertainment value, and I don't want that to mask how good that kid really is.
He's super good, dude.
Right. He's very good. And people don't realize too, he's got a very underrated grappling game.
Yeah.
I know he did the quintet with Anthony. And when Anthony came back from that, he was like, man, Sean O'Malley is the student of the game. Like, this kid's knocking on my door, in the morning, like, hey, go over, this half guard sweep with me or this and that. Like, the kid just loves to learn. And I'm excited to see the day where he gets a dance partner that's going to put him on his back, or he's going to force the grappling so he can show the world, because that's going to benefit him.
Yeah.
Because like I said, once the whole division's watching and they see, shit, this kid can grapple too, same thing. Who wants Sean O'Malley next? No one's going to be raising their hand. So it's a win-win.
Unless he gets so big that he's like Conor, where everybody's begging for it. But like,
right.
And that's kind of that. I mean, so that is the upside for Jan, which is a big one, which is just like, look at, who are some of the biggest names of the game? Nate Diaz. Look at Nate Diaz before Conor. Look at Nate Diaz after Conor. Now, O'Malley's not Conor yet, but like, and then Dustin Poirier, pre-Conor, post-Conor, completely different universe. And it's like, so there is upside there.
Good on him though, for giving one of these guys below him
a
big opportunity. It's
for sure.
Like when Anthony was ranked 9th or 10th and Volkan was ranked 1st or 2nd, he gave us a shot. And you gotta, and we're forever grateful for that. So, as much as they're different, like different demographics and different looks and stuff, those guys, Sean O'Malley will forever be grateful for the opportunity that Peter's given him.
For sure, dude. When have you ever watched Mixed Molly Whoppery's YouTube channel?
I don't believe so.
Oh man, I'll send it to you. He does these documentaries that are like, they're essentially like character profiles on these fighters. And like but the level of research that he does is unreal. And I've noticed that the guys that I'm most kind of like emotionally tied to their career, if I don't like the guys I don't know personally, are all the guys that he's profiled, because I feel like I know so much about their journey that I end up getting. But so he did one on Peter Yan, bro. Peter Yan was unloading those enormous ships in the docks in Siberia since he was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like that is the hardest fucking dude on earth right there. Like when you watch it, and then, I mean,
right.
When he walked in Jacksonville, we were in the front row. So like he walked right by us, and I texted Anthony right after. I'm like, that's the hardest 135 pounds on earth right there, dude.
Right.
You could see it on him, dude. Like
that's a real thing, man. I have one of my good friends, owns a gym in Manhattan, Kansas. His name's Joe Wilk. Mm-hmm. And, when I first met Joe, it's not that I didn't like him, but he's got a big personality. He's very brash. I think he fought for Strikeforce once. Jiu-jitsu black belt, like I said, fantastic coach. But you watch him, his walkouts, it's very animated. He's rapping, he's got his hat twisted to the side. And one time we were just talking about, your mindset going into fights, and at the time, Mirsad Bektik was coming up, was from Omaha, was kind of a big name. He's one of the better prospects in the world. And he said, man, I got to do that shit. He's like, I got to psych myself out. He's like, I'm competing against guys like Mirsad Bektik that grew up in war-torn Bosnia, mm-hmm. that saw things at a young age that no child should see, or working on the docks in Siberia at 10 years old. He's like, I grew up drinking fucking Mountain Dew and eating Doritos, playing Nintendo at 10 years old. Like, mm-hmm. I didn't live a bad life. So I have to make it seem, I have to psych myself out mentally, where he's probably in the cage thinking, wow, this guy is really not afraid of me. Because deep down, I'm scared shitless, because I think this guy's terrified of anything I have to bring to him when he was 10 years old, freaking working 60 hours a week. Yep. So it's that shit's crazy when I hear athlete stories like that. They come from, certain parts of the world.
Yeah,
it's a newfound respect.
Yep. Siberia, I like when I was growing up, I remember like Siberia is always like a place that I wasn't even sure if it actually existed. I thought maybe it was, it's like you get sent to Siberia. It's damn. So when I found out, unloading ships at the docks at 10 or 11 years old or whatever, it's like, that makes perfect sense. So yeah. So the thing, go back to the O'Malley thing really quick, just cause I'll tell you kind of like what my take on it was in terms of how the fight got made. Was like, there are certain guys that like when they're matchmaking, it's like there's a pretty like straightforward formula for how like people generally get matched up, and then there's a handful of people that are surgical with who they're going to fight, just because of their the potential value or current value of that asset, and what happens if they win or they lose, what's the risk reward, and it becomes really, really important. And with O'Malley, I would say he is probably as important as Conor McGregor in terms of because he's their potential next one.
For sure.
And so I think how he got Jan is, I think the equation looked like this. So O'Malley is turning 28 right now. Jan is 29. There is no getting around it. If you want him, if O'Malley's going to get to the pinnacle, he's fucking fighting Jan. Like there's no one in the division that you can look at and be like, well, let's just have Jan fight that guy and that guy will beat Jan. That's not, Jan's going to beat everybody else.
Right.
And so O'Malley's going to have to fight Jan at a certain point. And right now, due to however you saw that last decision in Jacksonville, Jan's not the champion, which makes this a 3-round fight, which for sure favors O'Malley versus a 5-round fight against Jan.
For sure. Yeah.
And in addition to that, Jan is coming off 2 losses. Now, the likelihood that he's psychologically rattled from that is extraordinarily low. But if there was to be any psychological advantage with that guy, this is the time. And in addition to that, to your point, if O'Malley did lose right now, they've got plenty of time to build him back up.
For sure.
And I think that's, I think that's exactly how this fight got made. Because everyone was just like, what the fuck? O'Malley versus Jan? How?
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
I think it's also the fact that the UFC needs superstars.
100%.
We don't have GSP. We don't have Brock Lesnar. We don't have Ronda Rousey. Yep. We don't have Anderson Silva. Like, we don't have guys. They need guys pushing the needle to sell pay-per-views.
100%.
So if you get a kid that has the look, that has the skill, that's willing to sell the show, they're going to push him. They're going to freaking push him. So, I think it's, like I said, it's a win-win, because they're kind of rolling the dice on this one. And if O'Malley goes out and starches Jan, I mean, it's it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be
it'd be like when Connor starts Aldo.
Exactly.
Like
right.
where you're just like,
for sure.
No
right.
fucking way.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
You know?
So I'm excited, man. I'm a Sean O'Malley fan. Obviously,
me too.
He's got the same management as Anthony, so I root for that kid. Root for that kid hard. And I just think he's a funny person. Anybody that can connect to our youth, these kids, they see the hair, they see the if you get past that and really think about these kids that like the Jake Paul and Logan Paul. I'm not fans of those guys. I don't think those are the kind of guys I'd want to share a beer with. I don't, maybe not.
I bet you'd like them in person.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
But I think what people forget is they have such a following of our youth.
Yeah.
If they just change one kid's mind from sitting in front of YouTube and playing video games to saying, well, Jake Paul is boxing, maybe I should. And they walk over to their local gym, Boys and Girls Club, or wherever they find a local boxing gym, and they start doing it themselves, it's a win.
Yep.
It's a freaking win. So since you got guys that with these big personalities like O'Malley, if they're able to kind of guide our youth to, hey, you start going to jiu-jitsu class. Why don't you get into wrestling? Why don't you get into boxing? It's a win-win. It really is. And that's where I feel like that's where I know I'm a big fan of his, because I think it translates over to our youth to get more involved into progressive and productive, structure with being active and not just sitting in front of a freaking TV playing video games or whatever these kids are doing nowadays.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Because it's like that's a really good point. And just because like there are always going to be a million streamers. And that's always going to be the aspiration of the majority of the youth, is like, because like, why would that not be your aspiration? You're like, wait, how much did he make last year? They're all $3 million. They're all $3 million sitting online, fucking talking to a bunch of people playing video games.
Right,
That sounds like a fucking good option.
Right.
That's and like, but someone trying to do that is identical. Going back to the beginning of our conversation about like the pursuit of an impossible dream. Yeah. If like a person's like, they're starting from scratch, you're like, hey, what are you going to do? What do you want to do with your life? They're all, I want to be like fill in the blank, some streamer that makes millions of dollars. It's exactly like a young kid that just started fighting. And they're like, I'm going to be champion of the world, where you're like, good luck with that guy,
Right.
But some of them fucking get there. Like some of them fucking
never know, man.
Some of them get there.
You never know. There's so much. I tell this to my athletes all the time, and I'm sure they're sick and tired of hearing it, but a lot of it is because my athletes work hard. I'm a very blessed coach. I have a very unique bond with a lot of my athletes, but the reality is they're spoiled. They have good coaching. They have good teammates. We have team sponsors. I try to help them out with not only in fighting, but outside of fighting, and Coach Scotty does as well. They have a lot going for them. They don't, we have a sponsor that pays for their gear. We have a sponsor that pays for their short. My guys are spoiled. So I tell these guys all the time, don't fucking excuse my language, but don't take advantage of that.
Oh, you can swear.
There is so much untapped potential talent in this world that'll never be, because they don't have the right pieces around them. Mm-hmm. They don't have the right coaching, the right training partners, the right management, the right promotion to give them a platform. They don't have the right sponsors. So there's so much untapped potential, like I said, that's never going to flourish, because you need those pieces around you. And like I reiterate that all the time, because I don't want to coach, for lack of a better word, a bratty prima donna athletes. I don't. And I'm very lucky, because none of my guys are really like this. Some of them,
I was going to say, Anthony certainly ain't that.
So, and a lot of that just has to deal with who you surround yourself around. Like that old cliche saying again, like, if you surround yourself with 5 idiots, you're the 6th. If you surround yourself with 5 successful people, you're going to be the 6th. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job at that. I have really good mentors. I have a really good support system. I have very good athletes that are focused. So, is your
school open to the public?
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure.
And what's the name of the school?
Skywalker 101 Boxing Academy.